It's not saying that everything is wrong in the world. It's just a smarter way of doing business. We tend to sell just not broken products, let's say.
Yeah.
But if you think differently and say to Clau, I want to sell one wash where I take care of everything. So that means I take care of the electricity, the water, the washing machine, and everything. But never anybody thought about leasing jeans. I think without having a purpose, there's no chance you're going to survive, I believe. So we've been always shouting about saving water, less CO2 emission, all those things, but nobody cares. So if you know that, then you also have to realize
how you position yourself.
Yeah, what kind of message are you sending out? What it has to look. So we decide it has to look cool, it has to look sexy, it has to look good, the fit has to be perfect. So she worked a lot on the fits to make sure that everything is fine when you receive your jeans at home. All those things we've been doing, and it's a long journey.
What if your jeans could clean up their own mess? Bert van Son is the Dutch entrepreneur who turned a bankrupt denim label into the world's first fully circular denim brand. After 30 years in fashion, he managed to prove that fashion can be circular, fair and profitable. His vision has earned him multiple awards, and he's a spokesperson that continues to reshape the future of fashion and sustainability. Welcome to Reinventing Capitalism, the podcast where I, Claudia Thomas, decode the success of for-profit impact businesses through the stories of their founders. Our goal is to inspire you towards a purpose-driven career, because life's too short for boring jobs and soul-crushing corporations. Hey Bert, thank you for having me here. Just for the audience, we are at Matt Jean's office.
Yes.
Just outside Amsterdam.
Yeah, 20 minutes away in the forest, and the last few weeks we're here. Good morning.
Let's just start and jump straight into it. Before founding Matt Jeans, you had a very lengthy experience in the textile industry, manufacturing different clothes in very big companies, and also working in Asia. So I want to understand, what do we need to know from that period of your life that then led you to have this passion for sustainability and circularity?
That's a long journey. We'll start at the beginning. I was leaving my studies. I finished my studies. Nothing special, just entrepreneurship. And I wanted to see the world, as very normal, I think, for young people. Yeah. I wanted to work for a trading company with the possibility of being sent abroad. And I got a job at this huge company. And one part was textiles. So I didn't really want to be in textiles. I just wanted to be...
It was more serendipitous.
Exactly. So after 2 years of traineeship in Holland, they said, okay, there's a space now. There's a position in Taiwan, Taipei, where they had a small office. They had several offices in the Far East, and Taipei was a really outer office where they asked me to go. So I went there, 23, 24. Very interesting times because no English on the signs. Learned a lot just by doing the trade. So I took care of taking in the orders, making the samples, make sure that the shipments were in time, do the final inspection. It's very interesting. Count the boxes, do the measurements.
Make sure that everything's right.
Yeah. And negotiate, and I became, of course, more and more experienced and got more jobs and thought I was very, very well doing this. So after this, they said, okay, you can now move on to the head office of the Far East, which is Hong Kong. So I moved after 2 years to Hong Kong. I had a fantastic time because, you're young, the world is looking good, and China was opening. So from Hong Kong we traveled a lot into China, which was nice because you don't want to stay really in China at that time. But they really went deep into China in rural areas where they never had seen a white boy. So it was interesting. So
that must have been
quite
an
experience.
Because
they see you as they find it interesting. They're very curious. And what it learned me is I tried to speak the language, of course, but I never took the possibility to read the signs. But I took lessons of speaking Mandarin. So in Taipei I was getting okay because I do pick up languages, and it's also the best way to learn a culture, I think, because you want to show that you're impressed or interested also. And when you say good morning to your colleagues in Chinese, they already appreciate it a lot. So every day you write down 10 words phonetically, and little by little you get the hang of it. And when I moved into Hong Kong, I thought very proudly that I could speak with the people there, but they speak Cantonese. So the taxi driver replies to you in English if you say something in Mandarin. And it was already an eye-opener for me. People think of China as one country. It's not. There's I don't know how many regions with different languages and things. So interesting times, learning the trade, learning about quotas. We had quota between, for instance, Holland and Taiwan. You could ship so many T-shirts, category 8, that was at that time, 200,000 pieces. So that was interesting. There were trade barriers, import duties, all those things you had to learn to live with and how to handle that. So yeah, interesting.
And so Then, I believe after all these years, it's when you took a step back and you decided to stop for a second.
We skip a big part. I have to tell a little bit about after Hong Kong. The big chief then walked into the office and said, "Hey, Van Son, you speak French, don't you? You have to move to the French." I didn't speak a word of French.
Okay.
You have to move to the French office next week. So it's like cowboys-driven companies. So a month later, I was at the head office in France, trying to learn French. Did a French
starting over again,
a submersive course to learn your French. And long story short, 20 years later, I built my own company in France. We did Disney licenses to the big retailers. So I sold a lot of 101 Dalmatian pajamas to Auchan and to Kiabi, to Carrefour. And made a lot of money, and it was good trade because if you work for Disney, you have to sign this huge code of conduct and make sure that all the workers, all the companies you work with are using this code of conduct. So no child labor, no toxic materials, things like that. So it was already the beginning of
being conscious about
moving into better
how to do things well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But more driven out of a brand perspective than out of intrinsically motivated. So that was interesting. But you see better factories, let's say, at that time. And then when I moved, so I worked 10 years for a Turkish company, and then in France I started my own company. After 4 years, somebody came and wanted to buy this company, and I said, okay. And I was part owner, and we sold the company, and I suddenly, this was 3 months before the financial crisis.
Okay.
So people thought I was very intelligent, but it was sheer luck, it just happened. And then you suddenly, with a money problem that you have to diverse over different banks because everything was trembling at that time, interesting times. So I said, I better take a year off and think about, I've been working 30 years like crazy. And I thought, so what now? Took a year off. Actually, it was 4 years in the end because I really liked it. But,
wow, not bad for years.
No. But then suddenly the money is gone and you have 3 studying children and it goes fast. So I said, I have to do something. But with the money still ahead of me and the knowledge and the network I had, I thought I shouldn't be doing the same again. I should have to do something better and something more. Started interesting in sustainability and see what my generation has done with the earth is not very smart. And I also saw the whole textile industry from the start when I started, from making beautiful clothing, quality clothing, to protect yourself and to look good, into this fast fashion monster that I've seen growing in my life. Marketeers are very strong. So I thought I have to do things differently. And then this jeans company came up and I said, okay, let's buy that and make it better.
Did you do something concrete during these 4 sabbatical years that made you...
Besides sailing?
Besides sailing. As in, because I think there's a lot of people that are conscious about, like being closer to their hearts, I guess, when it comes to what they do in their professional careers. But then a lot of people also suddenly have free time, but they don't know they don't know what to do with it.
No,
so
I knew very well.
You knew very well what to do with it.
I'm a specialist. No, I don't think so. It does give you the rest to open up your brain for other things because I've been changing. It's not difficult work, the trade industry and the textile industry, but it's just a lot of work, and you have to make sure all the details are correct. And so you're busy all day long, and for 30 years your mind is only concentrated on that. And then when you're free and you can take a rest, of course it changes you and it makes you more conscious of all the other things happening. It's also better for your children, I think.
Yeah, your children must have loved it. So you finished this sabbatical, and a very interesting point of this story that we have discussed it earlier is that you didn't found the company, you bought a bankrupt company.
Yeah.
What's the rationale behind doing that versus actually starting it from scratch?
Well, that's the first mistake I made.
Okay.
Never buy a company out of bankruptcy. It's not a good idea. Actually, I bought 2 companies at that time. One sports company and this company. And I thought if I bring them together and I do it all more consciously and use better materials, better factories, then I can make a bigger holding out of this.
I mean, people say that it's easier to restructure a brand and kind of like grow a brand that already existed than start from scratch. So you're saying that didn't work for you?
For me, no. I don't think so. But although, maybe. There are also some advantages, that's true. But for me it was difficult. I bought it because a friend of mine from India said you have to look into these mud jeans. And I went visiting them when they were still alive. And ploop, 1 month later they went bankrupt. And I talked with the curator and I bought the company. But with that said, it wasn't good enough for me. You know, they did also jeans with organic cotton and made in Italy. But I thought we have to do better. And actually that's where I started really. One day I was in this meeting with MVO Nederland, which is Maatschappelijk Verantwoord Ondernemen. Sustainability Foundation in Holland. And I had a speaker who was talking about the circular economy. And that's the day that really everything changed for me, because I thought that is such a brilliant idea. If you start thinking circular, everything becomes clear for me. And he took the example of a washing machine. I don't know if you're interested to hear, but for me that was a life change, because he said, if you are a manufacturer of washing machines, you want to sell a washing machine to Clow and hopes that it will break down in 3 years' time so that she will buy another one, or at least. So we are tend to sell just not broken products, let's say.
Yeah.
But if you think differently and say to Clow, I want to sell a wash to you, one wash, where I take care of everything. So that means I take care of the electricity, the water, the washing machine, and everything. That means you pay per product, let's say per how do you call it? Pay per service, let's say.
Okay.
And if you do that and you are the manufacturer, then you are thinking completely different of what you make, because then you want your washing machine to last very long, to use it less energy and less water. So the intention is much better. And the price can be cheaper then also. So you make it circular, and you also think after 10 years I might get this product back, and I want to make it easy for myself to use all the raw materials inside. And I think that's the way forward for us, because it's not saying that everything is wrong in the world, it's just a smarter way of doing business.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like, because pointing with the green finger, I found out that's not working.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that, but trying to be smarter is interesting, I think.
That's what at university where I'm studying at LSE, we call the concept of shared value. So making sure that you can add value in every step of the process rather than having just one finite.
Exactly. So that's the difference between linear economy and the circular economy.
Exactly.
Make waste. We want to be a zero waste company. And if you think of that, nobody is against it. I've never heard while starting this, I've never heard anybody saying to me, how stupid that you take back old jeans and make new jeans out, because people like that, Also recycling bottles and things. Why not? It's just a little effort to make things much better. Yeah.
So you buy a bankrupt company, and then what do you do?
And the second mistake, I asked the old guy to join me and see if we could work together, and then that explodes within a month, because the guy thinks he's still the boss and I'm the boss, and he wants to keep on doing the things he did before he went bankrupt. So that was the first, and that also cost money. So I spent a lot of money the first half year to straighten things out and make it the company I wanted to be. So second mistake. You want to hear the third mistake?
Go.
For later. Let's go.
Okay, so you disrupted the fashion industry by...
Hopefully, I did. I'm not sure.
I think so. Because you were the first one to offer clothing as a service.
Yes.
What does that really ease? Like, walk us through the whole process from production to distribution.
Yeah. So the idea is, at that time we made jeans of 100% organic cotton.
100% organic.
Yeah, which is more expensive, difficult to get, because there's only 1% of all the cotton produced is organic cotton. And that's already shaky, because you really want to know everything. Then if you ask, for instance, a farmer to make organic cotton, you also have to ask him first to lay the land for 2 years idle, because all the pesticides will get out of the land. So it's a difficult thing. Organic cotton jeans. And we said, actually, it's such a nice material, so beautiful. You don't get skin cancer of that. We also use non-toxic indigo. Why don't we want to get it back, actually? Because it's a beautiful material. And what happens at that time and still today is that clothing get incinerated in Holland. Some of the clothing are sold to Ghana, which they don't want anymore, because they are just pushing it into the ocean. But in Holland, I think we burn around 180 million kilos of clothing, which is stupid, because it's raw material that you can reuse. Yeah. The challenge is that you have a lot of different materials, like wool and polyester and cotton and you name it. And if you mix it all together, you can't do much with it. You can make, the best you can make is isolation material or something like that. But we want it to be our own jeans coming back in our new jeans. So that's where the idea started. And how do you do that? Well, you first have to convince your consumer to send back the old jeans. And he's not going to do that just like that. So you have to give an incentive. We said, okay, we pay you €10 discount if you bring back your old jeans, my jeans. And then the story starts. But the more holistic thing is then, if you think, no, I would like to remain the owner of the raw material as a producer. And if I do that, then I have also more connection with my consumer. We get a sort of, we're in it together. And that feeling was very interesting. And the next thing happened that I hired a very good PR lady. That was not a mistake. That was a good decision.
Finally,
one. And we launched it on the 17th of January in 2013. And we just said, we're this small jeans company. We have something incredible to tell you. come all and see, and you have to invite reporters and things like that. And you think, well, nobody will come. We had 100 people in it, so it was really well branded that day, from universities, from everything. And in the jeans industry, you must understand that everything has been invented. So different washings, sizes, fits, you name it, everything, the holes, the whole thing. But never anybody thought about leasing jeans. And I think the name was also good and catchy, because lease jeans is
contradictory, if anything.
So it raises questions, which is good. So that from that day onward, we were like a PR magnet. They wrote an article in the Wall Street Journal. Everybody called me.
In many newspapers.
Yeah, that's
everywhere.
really incredible. That's really incredible. So as a little brand, you're suddenly well known. It doesn't mean that you sell a lot of jeans, because it helps. And I also, I started that day. We had a famous singer in Holland signing the first Lease jeans contract, and we really made it well. And at that day, you could sign your first contract.
So with Lease, so like you're saying, you gave 10% discount to get jeans back.
That's just
that's just an incentive.
Yeah, there's an incentive for if you have an old pair of my jeans and give it back to. With the Lease, it's just that you have a monthly fee.
Monthly fee, okay.
And I made it very complicated at that time. You have a monthly fee, and then after 12 months, you can decide whether you want to keep it longer, and you have to pay a little bit more. And I really made it a very complicated thing. Okay. So I once held this story. I gave presentations because people invited me to talk about this. I don't know if you know Pakhuis de Zwijger, but they have like this really forward-moving talks. And I was invited to speak there, and I explained this whole thing. And there's a girl afterwards coming to me and says, Mr. Van Son, that's really very interesting yourself, but it can be much better. I said, okay, I will come work for you. I said, well, no, I have no money, it's gone. So, no. And she called me 3 months later and said, I quit my job, I want to work for you, and we'll find a way to, so she's a shareholder now. So when you start something like this is lesson number 2, very interesting. When you start something intrinsically well with good ideas, you get a lot of young talented people coming to you and say, okay, we maybe can improve. Sometimes too many, and sometimes always the same ideas, but also sometimes really good people. So, but that wasn't your question. Lease jeans is now a little bit easier. It's a 12-month period where you pay a monthly fee, and
How
after
much?
that, it's now depends on the style, but it's around 10 euros. Okay. And after the 12 months, you just can keep your jeans if you want, because we do not want to push fast fashion, and our jeans last much longer than 1 year. So it's a little bit of a payoff actually, but the idea of Lease jeans is still there, that we are connected. One day you will send your jeans back, and we will reuse. We promise to reuse the old cotton into the new jeans. Okay. And today we can go up to 40%. This actually is done in Spain, as you know, in Valencia. Yeah. We work with Royo, and they receive all our old jeans. They take off the metal parts, they chop it, and in the end of their whole process, you get this bluish cotton-like material, which then is spun into. We have to mix with new organic cotton, spun into yarn, weaving, and they make the whole fabric.
Is this the standard, to have 40% fully recycled instead of 100?
It's not. It's and there the scam starts, because we have a lot of greenwashing around us.
Exactly.
So the first thing is people make a difference between. You should make a difference between pre-consumer waste and post-consumer waste. Mm-hmm. That means old jeans into new jeans. Yeah. What we do, and pre-consumer is, the cutting losses.
Just so the audience understand, pre-consumer, can you consider it before it reaches the consumer, and post would be like the second hand market that we all know about.
The post, the jeans that you send back to them.
Exactly. Okay.
But pre-consumer is what you find on the cutting tables. Have you ever seen how they make this?
No.
Where you lay all the layers of denim on a long table, and then they put the pattern on it, and they cut all the pieces. Okay. All the sizes, all this very complicated work. And they always have cutting loss, we call it. So cutting loss is a pre-consumer waste, but there's more. And then when we started, we could go up to 20%, but also the industry is moving forward. They really, the makers of fabric, they really like to move forward. The brands don't buy it because it's more expensive, it's more complicated, it's more difficult to get the right quality, but you really want to do it. So we are often also the guinea pig. When they invent something new, we just buy it and see if it works. So today we go up to 40% post-consumer waste, 60% new organic cotton. And our dot on the horizon is to make 100% old jeans new jeans, which we did now last year in a laboratory together with the Saxon University. We were the first and still are. And now we try to bring this to production. Okay. And I can talk into the techniques if you want, but it's rather complicated. I'll make it very short. It's one part is mechanical recycled, which we did already. And it has a level, you can't go higher. And the other part is now chemical recycling. That sounds very bad, but it's just a solvent where you bring back the cotton into a powder and you can make a yarn out of it. And if you mix the two, you can go higher. So this autumn we will bring a pair of jeans with 65% post-consumer waste, closed loop, premium quality jeans.
That sounded amazing. Hi, can I ask you a quick favor? Every week, we dive into the stories of founders building businesses that do more than just make money. Our mission is to prove that a career in impact can be both purposeful and financially sustainable. If you believe in creating meaningful work, share today's episode with one friend who's ready to make a difference. It would mean a great deal to me. Your support is what keeps this show alive and growing. Thank you. I want to learn a little bit about the business aspect of things. So right now, what's the percentage of revenue that comes from leasing, and whether if you have any other revenue streams?
Our company, you can split it into two things, our revenue channels. So one is we have now 250 stores in Europe, not our own stores, but retailers we sell through. Okay. We have one own store in Amsterdam that you visited. Exactly. Very well done. And the other half of our turnover is our own webshop, mudjeans.com, which is working really well. Okay. And sometimes we have special products like the one we did with IKEA. We did a cover for
the tell us about that. That's
a long story. Are you sure you want to hear it?
Can we make it just super short?
I'll try to make it short. IKEA came to us and they said, we signed an internal note that we want to be circular in 2030. Okay. And you are circular, can you help us? So that's quite a...
It's quite a thing.
It's an amazing thing that such a huge company comes and see you and really wants to. So we said, okay, yeah, we can do that. And they said, okay, let's take our biggest item. It's a cover for the clip-on couch. The clip-on couch is the student two-seater that you may have.
Yeah, not anymore. But I had it at the time. Yeah.
So we made these samples, beautiful covers. You can get a clip-on free of charge on Marktplaats if you want. So we got one. We took off the cover, sent it to our factory, and they started making this cover. And we invited the 3 people within the 100,000 people that work in IKEA who are allowed to create a product number, which is the holy grail within the company like that. And we actually invited them here, the boardroom that you saw. We made it all with 2 couches with this stupid IKEA lamp and a board and a plant and everything. And they came in and they saw this and they said, yes, this is nice. It really looks good. And it has 40% post-consumer waste in it, which is the start to make things circular. And we said people can also bring 2 jeans to IKEA and we will take them in and use them in our production line. Okay, so when do we start? And we said next week because we have the sample, they look good, you can go at, you have to go through all the audits of IKEA. So they will send somebody first to Spain to go to the factory to see if it's auditable. And then only they will send their audit team. The same happens in Ustex in Tunisia where we work. It took us 3 years to become an IKEA supplier. And I can take you into the details, but before, for instance, they go to the medical corner and say, okay, the how do you call this? Your headache pills are out of date. We cannot approve your factory. Things like that. Okay. They really go into very deep depth. And then
that's good though.
It is, yeah.
Because they make sure that you're legit and that what you say
absolutely, and we were happy with it because we also learned a lot.
But it just took too long.
It took too long, but we did it and we delivered now a lot of couches, and it's one of the best-selling products also, which is
I'm happy for
better,
that. Yeah. Back to the original question.
Sorry.
So the business model. You were saying that you sell through wholesale and then also through your website.
Yes.
In terms of the strategy, is that cost effective? Like why do you have so many wholesales in just one own store?
The own store we just have is only 4 or 5 months we have it now. Okay. But I have to get back to your question of how much part is the leasing now. The leasing we only do online because it's too difficult to do with the retailers, and it's about 30% of the turnover. Okay. So it's a little part of our business, but it's interesting because these are your best customers. They are connected with you, they stay with you, they buy for the whole family, they renew. So these are really the ones we cherish the most. Going back to the own stores, it's very complicated to have an own store. You have to perform all days, and we need more products for that. So now we're looking into knitwear and other things, and that will make it more easy. And work with retailers that are specialists in selling more durable brands is interesting because you can have Eco-Alf in the same store and you can have Armed Angels and those, and then we fit in very well, and you have the customer that comes there really. We're trying to expand also to stores that are just blue. Let's say they sell jeans, and then they also need one pair of very good jeans sometimes, and a little bit more expensive. So that's our target for now. I'll get to that later maybe because one of your questions will be about it. Yes, go ahead.
I think my next topic it's more about everything that you've achieved. So like not only in terms of how big the company has become, but also in terms of the impact.
Yes.
I read that you saved 144 million liters of water, which are equivalent to 58 Olympic-sized swimming pools, which is kind of crazy because you don't normally make these comparisons, and like you cannot even imagine 58 swimming pools. Or another interesting...
we think it's not enough, actually, but go ahead. Yeah?
Definitely. But another interesting data is that you've prevented 15,000 denim pieces from going to landfill.
Or incinerated, yes.
Or incinerated.
Yeah.
And after all of these, and obviously where you've taken the company, you've received so many awards. Like I was doing the research, and I mean at least 10 or 15. Like it was super like nice to see that not only you've seen these rewards, but also people from the industry have given you all these awards. So I guess the first question is, what do all these honors and awards mean to you, and how does it make you feel?
Of course I'm proud. Now it keeps you alive because we also have very difficult days, and money-wise it's been a rough journey, because to make profit with a circular company in a linear economy is next to impossible. You know, the whole governance and everything is not installed on circularity. It's based on a linear system, and that's actually broken. Our economics learn the same thing they learned 50 years ago, whereas I think today we're in a total different era. So this is a difficult thing. So the days that you really think, wow, what did I start? And it's difficult, and I can't pay my salary and things like that. Then winning a prize helps. Of course, everybody is proud of, the King William I plaquette was a huge achievement, because it says that for 2 years long, you can call yourself the most sustainable company of Holland, of all companies, and not in textiles, everything. So that feels like next level. You really go, and also that we were announced by B Corp to be in the top 5% worldwide, best for the environment. Yeah. Those are kind of things. At least you think, okay, I'm not doing it for nothing. At the days that things get difficult, let's say. But what was your question?
No, that was it. So I mean, you're obviously very proud, but it's true. Like it's a fight. I guess it's a fight every day, because you're circular in a linear industry, and also in fashion, like. A lot of people, too many people buy fast fashion, and you're fighting against that. So,
exactly. It's also today's big topic is degrowth. Do we need to eternally grow? And we as a company have to grow. The jeans industry is a volume-driven industry, and we're too small at this moment to be profitable. So I have to grow. But against that, I have to say, actually, we should sell less jeans in the whole world. So if I always explain that my piece of the pie should increase, and the whole jeans industry should actually decrease. But that's not easy.
Are you profitable now?
No, not yet. No. We've had some years that we were break even, but the last 2 years we've invested a lot in the brand and in the new CEO, which you're going to ask me about later, I think. So the last 2 years have been big investments in the brand and in what you just said. We hope to be profitable in 2026 with when we reach the 10 million mark turnover.
I was going to ask, how do you expect to influence bigger players in the space? But you might have just given me the answer. So like
not yet.
Not yet?
No.
Okay, I thought you were going to say like the degrowth and decreasing the pie of the industry.
Yeah, but also actually when we started the company, you think about the mission. Today it's when you start a company, I think without having a purpose, there's no chance you're going to survive, I believe. And you can, for instance, follow Abdelaziz, who's wrote the book Good is the New Cool. He explains this very well and also has done a lot of research. I believe that if you don't have a purpose, no chance for a company. So what's your mission? What do we want to achieve? First of all, show the textile industry what can be done. Show them it's possible. Secondly, try to grow, of course, because our impact will be much bigger if we grow, because we can save more water. But thirdly, I also think that we have influence on other bigger brands, and it's shown that now to give you the details. Somebody has to start and make all the mistakes, and then the bigger companies will pick it up. For instance, we are very lucky because we are B Corp that young talented people want to work with us or do an internship with us, and those youngsters many times after 6 months we think, oh, we wish we could keep them. You know, they're so good, but we can't always. Sometimes we can keep them, and then after 1 or 2 years they get attracted by the bigger companies because they've learned a lot in mud jeans, which is good. If they can make then in a bigger company the difference and grow there, for me that's fine. But we never get a transfer sum, so that's a pity. But that's also impact, I believe.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because then also, like, if these people learn from you and then take it to the bigger companies, then hopefully they can change things from the inside.
Exactly. Yes.
You just recently stepped down
as
a CEO. I want to know, like, how do you reason stepping down, and how does it feel to let go of the baby that you've been growing for the past 12 years?
Yeah, tears in my eyes. No, it's a normal life
It's okay
cycle.
to have tears in your eyes.
Yeah, no, it's a normal life circle. You know, you have this S where you go, you start a company, you're doing okay, and then suddenly it grows, and you gather people around you at that stage who have certain certain knowledge and certain qualities for that period. At that time, you need people that can do the bookkeeping and also, but they have multiple hats on because you're a small company. And then you reach a certain moment where you think, okay, we've reached a level now, and we want to become 3 times bigger. If you do that, you need the best e-commerce manager, the best salesman, the best product manager, the best everything. Otherwise, you'll not. And you're working with people that have been doing all kind of jobs, but they're not the best in everything. And that also is for me. I'm not the best manager and the best CEO in the world. Maybe to bring it here on the first stage, like a small startup to this, let's say, first stage accelerator company. But if you want to go really better and bigger, you need different skills. And I don't have those skills. I'm not really a brand builder. And so we were looking for somebody who can build this brand, take it to the next level, has this knowledge how to do that. So that's why I stepped down and said, if I can still be useful for the company, I would love to do it, but not as a CEO. So we had 120 people applying for the job.
120.
Yeah, 120. Yeah, that's amazing. Because from the outside, we look like this great company doing all kinds of fantastic things. But once you're inside, you realize how difficult it is.
Yeah.
And the money is tight, and we cannot pay proper salaries and things like that. So it's a challenge. But we found somebody who wanted really to take on this challenge. She's been marketing director, big jobs in Nike and other big companies. And I was surprised that she wanted to take on this job. But she's doing it now for 2 years. Like I said, we've invested a lot also in how to bring the brand to the next level. So we've been always shouting about saving water, less CO2 emission, all those things, but nobody cares. And she's done a lot of research and everything. And so what do you think are the main factors, to decision moments to buy a pair of jeans? What's in your, as a consumer, what would you say?
Comfort.
Number 1, comfort. Number 2?
Cool. They need to be nice jeans.
Number 2, the fit. I'll help you.
Yeah, well, comfort, fit.
Yeah.
How long do they last? So
durability. Do you think about it when you buy a pair of jeans? Okay.
At least me, I'm like, I don't want to go to a shop and try jeans on again in 3 months.
Okay,
like, I want them to last.
Well, we've done this, and we had a lot of questions. And like you said, it's fit, size, price, durability, all those things. Number 14 is something about sustainability. Yeah. So if you know that, then you also have to realize
how you position yourself.
Yeah, what kind of message are you sending out?
Yeah.
What it has to look. So we decide it has to look cool, it has to look sexy, it has to look good. The fit has to be perfect. So she worked a lot on the fits to make sure that everything is fine when you receive your jeans at home, that it's the correct size that really you know. Mm-hmm. All those things we've been doing, and it's a long journey, improving all that, and then also improving the way you go to market. So that's when she, with her connections, was able to ask people from normally impossible marketing offices to join forces with us, because they were also looking at this little brand and saying, wow, this is interesting, this has to become bigger. So we had beautiful people working on this, and that's how we came up with the manifesto he wrote for us. It's really fantastic. Maybe you should send a picture with it in your podcast.
Yeah, we'll put it up.
Yeah, and he came up with the slogan, "Make the planet cooler."
But it's honestly so smart.
Yeah,
because like, honestly, like, it seems like having positive impact or being sustainable, it's not enough. It's more like a nice to have.
Exactly.
So you first need to be cool, and then your brand needs to be sustainable.
Exactly. It took me some years to understand this, but
yeah. I mean, I was gonna ask you, like, what's an advice for aspiring entrepreneurs that want to create or build an impact business. I think that's one of the main things. Absolutely. If you want to scale it.
I was, you're in this little bulb yourself, and you get a lot of attention, and people say you're doing great, and you think you're doing great, but you forget that you have to sell your products, and people have to like it, and they have to be, people have to want your product. That's the most important thing, and that they want it because it looks good, and your bum looks good, and all that things. That's important. For every butt a mud, we always say now. But
for every butt a mud. That's another good slogan.
It's not bad, but we thought this was better. So that's a mistake you make when you're really into your bubble. You think that people really care, and people don't care. Yeah. So this is why we made this huge step of And we also said, okay, let's see how the market looks. You have the dark green customer, we call them, and those are the people that lease jeans from us, and they really like us, and they know everything about us, and we have to cherish them. But that's only in Germany, for instance. That's only 8% of the population. If you go to the light green customer, and that's the customer who has been on holiday in Spain and saw this flooding suddenly in the summer, and said, "Wow, shit, something is really not
people
going
that are
well."
awakened, maybe not
Half. So let's say they saw some things and said, okay, it's not going well, and they walk into the supermarket, and instead of every day buying meat, they will buy
once a week
meat and the other things. And those are the ones that also, when they think about the clothing, say, well, maybe I should make a more conscious approach to buying my clothing, but not excessive. It's just a little thing. And if you can reach that part of the market, which is a much bigger part, then you can grow. So that's how we got to this idea of making the planet cooler.
I think we have an advice for aspiring entrepreneurs, for talent or investors that want to either work or invest in these types of companies. Yeah. Do you have anything that you've learned throughout these past years that's an advice that you would give them?
An advice to all these people, entrepreneurs and investors and everything?
I think in terms of choosing the right company, because we also mentioned greenwashing. Yeah. And like how can they audit, like how can they create a framework to audit the right companies?
Very complicated. It's very complicated. I would say start with B Corp, because B Corp does a very big audit. They ask you a lot of questions. And they actually now, since this month, have improved their system of auditing. Yeah. So if you do that, then you already get an impression of a company, if it's really intrinsically a purpose-driven, mission-driven company, because that's where the things start. That's where a lot of people are jealous about our company. We started it like this. We wanted to be this purpose-driven company. If you have a company and you want to do well, but you have this whole history behind you, and you suddenly say, "No, I'm going to be sustainable and I'm going to change things," it's okay. Please do. But it's much more difficult, I think, to convince your consumers, because you have this legacy of, and especially in textile industry, people just want to make a lot of money. That's mostly the first thing, is make as much as possible money for your shareholders. Yeah. Whereas a multiple value creation is something else, I think. It's not only about the money, but it's also creating value for your surrounding and for the people that work with you and for talented people that learn in your company and everything. So that's what we have to keep in mind. Is it a company that's only there to make as much as possible money? There's many of those companies. Invest in that. That's great. You're going to make a lot of money. If you invest in my company, you have to take the risk that maybe 1 or 2 years will be bad. But I think the value of the company will grow, especially now with all that we talked about, with all the possibilities with AI. I think the smaller companies have a big chance to catch up. Yeah. Because I can do now things that I could never have done last year because of AI. And I think I will catch up easier and faster than I could ever could. So if I'm an investor, I would invest in this company.
Yeah, I think you might need to be a little bit more patient. Yes. But that's also the risk that comes with impact investing. Absolutely. It's less immediate. You need a bit more time, but the rewards can also be much larger.
I think so. Yes.
Well, Bert, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for having me here in your offices. I've loved seeing everything that you've built.
And it's the last time. We're going to leave within 2 or 3 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm really happy that I managed to see it.
Just in time.
And thank you for showing me and everybody that a circular, fair, and revenue generating company,
making beautiful
it's
products.
Possible.
Look what you're wearing. Show us what you're wearing.
What I'm wearing is mud jeans. So
there you go.
How can the audience follow you or and
on LinkedIn,
the company? Yeah.
On LinkedIn, I'm doing a lot. We got a lot of followers there. Go to our website. We are a lot. Yesterday and the day before yesterday, I was at the forum in Amsterdam about sustainability in the textile industry. It was actually not bad, because we had this Extinction Rebellion around the corner protesting, and one of the girls stepped into the meeting. She managed to come in and gave a whole speech, and I must say the organization did well, because they gave her the microphone. She was very nervous, she was trembling, and I really had so much feelings for her, because she was very brave. But the thing she said, I said to her, "You're taking away my speech," because I had to talk after that. Because you're talking about, only 1% get recycled. As we speak, every second a garbage full of trash, textile trash, is dumped somewhere in the world. All those things she was mentioning. She was very, very well informed.
Prepared. So, I mean, if you need to take the stand, you better be prepared.
She was prepared. I admired her. So that's good.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.